Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. One night on a street in Los Angeles, inside a car, Beck is listening to a restaurant recipe program on the radio. Soon, a man appears, and we see that Beck has been waiting for him for a while. The man takes him into a nightclub to meet someone. Currently, Beck works as a specialist in difficult collections and is there to collect a debt on behalf of his boss, although his dream is to leave this life and open his own restaurant. In that nightclub, some famous American football players are present, among whom one of them owes the debt. Beck, despite being a fan of the guy, needs to do his job. He approaches him discreetly, but the man dismisses him twice, thinking it's about another matter, not even letting Beck explain. Beck insists, sits next to him, and explains that he's not there for an autograph but to collect the $50,000 he owes to his boss. However, the player says he'll talk to Beck's boss later, gives him $1,000, and tells him to leave. Beck, knowing he needs something more satisfactory for his boss, tells the player that he needs to take something as collateral, and in this case, it's the player's gold ring. The man mocks Beck, throws a drink in his face, and orders him to leave. Irritated, Beck goes to the bathroom and calls his boss, explaining the situation. However, his boss tells him he doesn't care and that Beck has to find a way to bring the ring, leaving him no choice. Beck then returns and tells the player that he has two options. Option A, he hands over the ring, or option B, he'll make the player hand it over. The player is sarcastic and sends his henchman to confront Beck. A fight ensues, and Beck quickly knocks down one and disarms the other. More henchmen come, but Beck easily defeats them as well. Then the two larger henchmen approach Beck, but he also takes them down without much trouble. Beck takes on a few more, and finally, he defeats the player, takes the ring as he promised, and leaves the scene. However, outside, while Beck is jotting down something in his recipe notebook, a man appears with a gun and shoots him with rubber bullets. Beck falls to the ground in pain, and the man approaches, takes the ring, and leaves. Shortly after, Beck arrives at his boss's house, named Bile. It's revealed that Bile sent the man with the rubber bullet gun to retrieve the ring if Beck failed. Beck is furious about this and demands his payment, as he wants to leave that life and open his restaurant. However, Bile states that Beck needs to do one last job before he'll release him to do as he pleases. Bile tells Beck that he needs to go to the Amazon in Brazil and bring his son back, as he's been getting into trouble. Bile offers $250,000, but Beck questions why Bile doesn't lure his son back with that sum himself. Bile explains that his son doesn't trust him. With no other choice, Beck reluctantly accepts the offer and sets out to find his boss's son. Beck travels to Brazil in a rundown plane and, upon arrival, drives toward his destination. Along the way, his guide named Declan advises him not to go into the jungle due to dangerous animals and even worse, rebels who dominate a large portion of the territory. There's a man named Hatcher who exploits workers nearly like slaves to extract as much gold as possible. Nearby, there's a town where Travis goes to a bar with some flowers to give to a woman named Mariana. This is a gift to persuade her to lend her uncle's boat to continue the search for a treasure called El Gato del Diablo. She hesitates but eventually agrees, on the condition that she goes along and shares in the value of the treasure. Back to Beck and his guide Declan, they arrive at a gold mining operation, where miners are working hard to extract the valuable material. The location is guarded by well-armed security personnel, and Beck is escorted to the vice chief of the site, Harvey, the boss's brother, who observes everything through surveillance cameras. Beck is searched, and meanwhile, a miner complains about wanting better pay, but the payment has been reduced. Not accepting this, he takes back his gold, but the guards subdue him with a sharp whip and punish him. After this, Beck is taken to the boss of the place, known to be a hellish figure named Hatcher, who already knows who Beck is. Beck asks if Hatcher knows the man in the photo. He confirms and reveals that he allowed Travis to live in his city on the condition that when Travis finds something valuable, he would have to hand over 60%. When asked about the subject of his meeting with Travis, Beck only says it's personal and that he's there just to ask for permission to enter Hatcher's territory. Hatcher grants him permission but not without a price, and then lets him go. Beck then takes a jeep and begins his search. He goes to the bar Travis frequents and announces that he's looking for Travis. Hearing his name, Travis approaches and asks who Beck is. Knowing it's him, Beck gives Travis two options. Option A, he goes with Beck peacefully and returns to his father, or option B, he'll be forced. Travis attempts to strike back, but Beck quickly overpowers him and handcuffs him. However, before they leave, Hatcher arrives with his henchmen, saying that there's been a change in the plan. He discovered that Travis knows the location of a valuable treasure and demands that Travis takes them there. Beck is supposed to leave. Ignoring this, Beck tries to leave, but gunshots prevent his exit. He's forced into a fight, dodges the bullets, and takes on his opponents, easily knocking down some of them. Holding the henchmen at gunpoint, Beck threatens Hatcher and his brother. However, he doesn't kill them, he kicks Harvey, knocking him and 2 men down. Using the gun's magazine, he stops Travis from escaping but then drops the gun, as he dislikes using them. Unfortunately, another enemy appears, a man with sharp whips. Beck blocks the first strike with his hand, but seeing he's about to be injured, he grabs Travis and decides to leave for now. They escape in the jeep, and Travis suggests that he would pay Beck much more than his father is paying, but Beck rejects it. So, Travis purposely loses control of the car, and it goes off the road and down a cliff. They both roll down the mountainside, hitting trees, and end up in the water below a waterfall. Just barely, they avoid being crushed by the falling car. When they emerge from the water, Travis takes the keys and unlocks the handcuffs, but he doesn't escape Beck easily. Travis tries to fight back but receives several punches and is overpowered. He tells Beck about the search for an immeasurable value treasure, but Beck isn't interested, so they start heading back. Meanwhile, Hatcher arrives at the crash site, unsure if they're alive, and orders his men to go after the thieves who were trying to rob him. Beck and Travis navigate through the forest, and at one point, Travis asks to urinate. Beck steps into a trap while distracted, and the keys to the handcuffs along with Beck's diary fall. Travis frees himself and starts teasing Beck, reading his diary and discovering that he enjoys cooking. However, Travis also gets caught in a trap. They try to swing and cling to the trees, but wild monkeys approach and attack them. Suddenly, shots are fired, scaring the animals away. Several armed men arrive, but they aren't Hatcher's men. They rescue Beck and Travis, only to capture them in their camp. The leader questions if they work for Hatcher. Travis denies it, saying he doesn't, but Beck does. Travis manipulates the rebels into thinking that Beck is the bad guy who's fighting against them. The leader, convinced by Travis, releases Beck so that he can fight against him. Beck insists that he doesn't want to fight them, but the short rebels start attacking him. The leader, skilled in martial arts, attacks with great speed, leaving Beck defenseless. Along with his comrades, they deliver a brutal sequence of fierce blows. And hanging from ropes in the trees, they attack Beck, dragging him upwards and then dropping him onto the tree branches. Beck rises and is now attacked with axes, initiating a counterattack. He finally manages to react well and starts knocking the men down one by one. After tossing the leader aside, he ferociously beats the others with wooden logs. He then easily grabs the short leader and tells him he's not his enemy, but he receives another blow to the face with a piece of wood. At this moment, fortunately, Mariana, who is actually their leader, arrives and ends the fight. They are, in fact, rebels against Hatcher's tyranny. Travis is surprised to learn who his real friend is. Later, at night, they are all camped together with the rebels, and Beck asks her why she does this. Mariana responds that it's due to the misery caused by Hatcher and how they are treated as slaves. She explains that they are uniting to end Hatcher's rule over the area, which truly belongs to the people. The short leader offers Beck his necklace, considering him a great warrior. Beck prepares to return to the landing strip with Travis. However, enemies approach and start shooting. The rebels flee into the forest, but Travis, Mariana, and Beck get into a small boat to escape. The short leader stays behind to give them a chance to escape but is unfortunately killed by Hatcher. As dawn breaks, the three are still navigating the river. Mariana questions Travis, asserting that he will lead her to find the El Gato del Diablo, as it will bring her people's freedom from Hatcher's grip. Travis says he won't do it without a deal. Enraged by her previous loss, Mariana attempts to shoot Travis, but Beck stops her. Meanwhile, higher up the slope, Hatcher's men search for the trio, who moments later approach a mountain. After a short walk, Travis says they have arrived. The location is a waterfall. The three enter the water and dive, passing through the curtain of water and entering a cave. Using a match to see better, Travis unintentionally ignites a large pocket of methane gas, narrowly avoiding the flames. They continue, reaching a passage blocked by logs holding up the rocks above. If they were to fall, they wouldn't be able to reach the treasure anymore. Travis notices animal engravings on the ground, realizing it's a code. He figures out which image to follow. While Beck holds some logs to prevent rocks from falling on them, Travis and Mariana follow the jaguar image. They reach the artifact, a solid gold sculpture. Happy with their find, they are suddenly caught in a collapsing ceiling, and they hurry to escape the cave. Later, at night, the three examine the precious object they found. Mariana explains that selling the piece will improve her people's lives. She offers a fruit to both of them, and hungry, they eat without complaint. While conversing, they start feeling odd, and everything begins to distort. They faint, having been drugged. Mariana, driven by greed, gave them fruit that causes muscle paralysis for a few hours. She takes the artifact and before leaving, says she will give Travis 10%, telling Beck where to go to return to the airstrip. At dawn, the two have recovered and managed to return there. Beck asks Declan to take off before they're caught by Hatcher. However, Declan assures them not to worry because the boss has what he wants, having found Mariana, kidnapped her, and taken her treasure. To make matters worse, they mistreat her to extract information. Beck, troubled by Mariana's situation, changes his plans to rescue her and the artifact. Travis suggests he'll need help. Beck allows Travis to be unshackled, but warns him that if he tries to escape, he won't be free for long. Meanwhile, in Hatcher's city, he's informed that they've lost contact with one of their outposts. Beck appears on the cameras and talks to Hatcher, stating that he doesn't want to fight him and his men. He offers him two options. Option A, to leave Elgato with Mariana in freedom and leave the town without questions. Option B, Beck will force him to do it. Hatcher and his men laugh, mocking Beck, as he has an army to support him. Realizing this, Beck has his answer and cuts off the cameras. Fearing what this man might do, Hatcher orders the city to be sealed off, and his soldiers position themselves, well armed, waiting for Beck's move. Time passes, and the one who enters the city is Declan, playing a bagpipe. This attracts many cows and bulls, causing chaos and damage among Hatcher's men. Seizing this opportunity, Beck infiltrates the scene and starts taking down Hatcher's soldiers, with Travis nearby. While Beck easily faces his enemies, knocking them out, Travis receives a beating from a man. But fortunately, he manages to rise and intimidate his enemy, defeating him afterward. Hatcher observes the situation and orders his brother to head to the airstrip, taking Mariana and the artifact with him. Travis tries to grab a weapon but is shot multiple times. He hides in a bus, but it's riddled with bullets. Seeing this happen to Travis, Beck evaluates the situation and the enemy men. He has no choice but to use weapons again. Hearing Travis's screams, Beck stands up and initiates a shootout against the enemies, accurately taking out many of them. Reaching Travis, he instructs him to exit the bus, which then explodes, causing more destruction. Travis sees Mariana being taken away, so he takes a car and catches up with them. He causes their vehicles to crash into a water tank, allowing them to escape before being crushed. Beck is surrounded by gunmen on the rooftop. Being incredibly strong, he jumps and destroys one of the columns, then begins to dismantle the other bases, causing his enemies to fall. However, a few remain, the ones with the whips. Beck gets hit a few times, and even when he grabs a gun, he's easily disarmed. The fight continues, and after taking down two of them, he manages to defeat them. The last one proves to be more difficult to defeat. As a shooter prepares to fire at Beck, Travis saves him by eliminating the shooter. Beck takes the fallen shooter's gun and shoots at Hatcher, managing to disarm him. Mariana arrives and shoots Hatcher in the arm. Soon after, the city's population gathers. Hatcher, furious, starts speaking about how they were nothing before he arrived and calls them ungrateful. Before he can shoot at them, he's shot multiple times but doesn't die. In the end, he accepts Beck's option A, and he tries to leave. However, unable to bear his injuries, he collapses further down the path and dies. After helping to liberate the people, Mariana approaches Beck and thanks him. They both lament not fulfilling the agreement they made with each other because they believed Travis had fled with the treasure. However, Travis appears and hands the valuable piece to Mariana, expecting her to fulfill her part of the deal and give his share later. Then he sets off with Beck to return home. Days later, Beck takes Travis home and hands him over to Billy. Billy slaps him and informs him that he needs to go to Chicago to settle a matter. Billy settles the deal with Beck, saying they are now even. But before leaving, Beck offers them a fruit, the same one Mariana offered him and Travis in the forest. Travis understands what Beck intends to do and watches as the effects take hold, leaving the men hallucinating and then unconscious. The movie ends with Beck and Travis leaving Billy's mansion, moving on to new paths.